everyone, I'm Sarah of Rich Textures Crochet and welcome. Today we're going to learn how to crochet the classic men's necktie, which you can see here in front of you. Now, not too long ago I was asked by a fan if I could design them a crochet tie to give to someone for a special event, and thus the classic men's necktie came to be. Now this necktie is about 3 inches wide at its widest point. The one that I'm showing you here, it measures about 63 inches long. I did make it for someone who is over 6 feet tall, so I wanted the longer length. Today in the tutorial, we'll just work one to a more standard length of 57 inches. The tie is double thick. I've worked the pattern using a fingering weight yarn, and I found that in order just to get it to hang a little bit better while it was being worn, it really needed that double thickness with a nice smooth edge to really show off the classic shape of a men's necktie. So today for the tutorial, I'll be using some of this Valley Tweed yarn by Rowan. It is a 100% fingering weight wool yarn. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm working a few other crochet projects in this yarn that will be available in the coming months. Each skein has about 226 yards, and for this tie, you're going to need about 1.5 of them. The crochet hook you'll need is a 3.5 millimeter or an E4. This is the birchwood hook, also by Rowan. I do have links in the description of this video for both of these items. Also down in the description, you'll find a direct link to the free written instructions, which are on my website at richtexturescrochet.com. Do be sure to check them out. So thank you so much for joining me, and while you're here, I invite you to subscribe. This channel is updated every single week with free crochet patterns and stitch tutorials. Let's grab our hooks and yarn and get started. Now our pattern today is worked in rows, and we're going to start down at that widest point. So just down here at the front of our tie at the widest point, and work our way up to the most narrow point. It is worked in rows, and as this tie is double thick, you're going to need to repeat the steps for this tie one more time after you finish it. So you're going to have a front side and a back side. So for this pattern, make 2 of these. We're going to start off by chaining 2, so making a slip knot, and then simply chain 2. You're then going to work for row 1, 3 single crochet stitches into the second chain from your hook. Chain 2 and turn your work. For row 2, we're going to begin by working a single crochet into the first stitch. So your chain 2 will count as a chain 2 space. Into the stitch at the base of that chain 2, work 1 single crochet, chain 1, skip the next stitch, and single crochet into the next chain 1 space. You're then going to work 1 more single crochet into that same chain 2 space. Chain 2 and turn your work. We're now going to be working the pattern in a moss stitch, and a moss stitch is a combination of single crochet stitches and chain stitches. For rows 3 through to 10, you're going to chain 2, turn your work, single crochet into that first stitch at the base of your turning chain, chain 1, skip the next single crochet, and single crochet into your next chain 1 space. chain 1, skip the next single crochet, and repeat that all the way across until you come to your chain 2 space, that turning chain, and you will work 2 single crochet stitches into the chain 2 space. Chain 2 and turn your work and repeat. Single crochet into the first stitch, chain 1, skip the next single crochet, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, repeat that all the way across, skip the next single crochet, single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, finish off the row with 2 single crochet stitches into the chain 2 space. Chain 2, turn your work and repeat. You're going to repeat until you come to the end of your row 10. As you are working, you will see that your tie is increasing in length. At the end of your row 10, you're going to have a total of 11 single crochet stitches in the row. At the end of row 10, you should have a nice triangle shape. You're then going to, at the end of row 10, chain 2 and turn your work. Now for row 11, we're going to skip the first 2 single crochet stitches and begin by working a single crochet into the first chain 1 space. You're then going to chain 1, skip the next stitch, and single crochet into the next chain 1 space, and repeat that all the way across to your final chain 2 space. When you come all the way across to the final chain 2 space, you're going to chain 1, skip the next stitch, and work 1 single crochet into that chain 2 space. Chain 2 and turn your work. Now for rows 12 through to 23, you're simply going to skip the first stitch, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip the next single crochet, and single crochet into the next chain 1 space. Repeat that all the way across until you come to your final chain 2 space. When you come across to your final chain 2 space, skip the next stitch and work a 1 single crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 2, turn your work and repeat. Skip the first stitch, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, and so forth. All the way across, chain 2, turn your work. So you are going to repeat this row for rows 12 through to 23, and then meet me back here at the end of row 23. At the end of row 23, you'll have worked a total of 12 rows of just plain moss stitch, that single crochet chain 1 combo. This is what your work looks like. We're now just going to do a slight decrease in the shape of the tie. So at the end of your row 23, you'll have chain 2 and turned your work. Now for row 24, we're going to skip the first stitch, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1 and skip the next stitch, and we're going to do that a total of 4 times. So that was the first time. Second time, single crochet in the next space, chain 1, skip 1, then 3, single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, and 4, single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 1 and skip 1. You're then going to work a single crochet into the next chain 1 space, skip the next stitch, and single crochet into your next stitch. So there's no chain 1 in between those 2 single crochet stitches. You're then going to just continue across, chain 1, skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, all the way across until you come to your chain 2, then chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet into that final chain 2 space. That brings you to the end of your row 24, chain 2, and turn your work. For row 25, we're simply going to work moss stitch all the way across. Single crochet all the way across. When you come to those 2 single crochet stitches that are together, you're going to skip both of those stitches. So you'll have worked a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, chain 1, skip the next 2 single crochet stitches, and then single crochet in the chain 1 space. You may need to pull that chain stitch a little bit tighter because you don't want to have a large gap where you skipped those 2 stitches. Then continue all the way across. Finishing off with the chain 1 and single crochet into that chain 2 space, chain 2, and turn your work. Now for rows 26 through to 86, so for a total of 60 rows, you're simply going to work the moss stitch. So beginning, skipping that first stitch, single crochet in the chain 1, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next space, chain 1, skip 1, all the way across. At the end of this row, chain 2, turn your work, and repeat. So from that decrease, those 2 decrease rows onward, you want to work a total of 60 rows all the way through to row 86 in moss stitch, and then meet me back here. At the end of row 86, this is what your tie is looking like so far. We're going to work another couple decrease rows. So for row 87, you'll have chain 2 and turned your work. You're then going to work a single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, and skip 1. You're going to do that a total of 3 times. There's 1, single crochet, chain 2, chain 1, skip 1, that's 2, single crochet, chain 1, and skip 1 for 3. You're then going to single crochet into the next stitch, or into the next chain 1 space, skip the next stitch, and single crochet into the next stitch. Chain 1 and skip 1, and then you're going to work your single crochet and chain 1 all the way across to your chain 2 space. When you come to that chain 2 space, single crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 2, and turn your work. For row 88, skip the first stitch, single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet, chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet. You're then going to skip the next 2 stitches, chain 1, skip those next 2 stitches, single crochet in your next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, and repeat all the way across to that chain 2. When you come to the chain 2, single crochet into that final chain 2. Chain 2 and turn your work. Now for the next 35 rows, for rows 89 through to 124, you're going to work your straight moss stitch, the single crochet, chain 1. Work a total of 35 rows and meet me back here at the end of row 124. At the end of row 124, we're going to chain 2 and turn your work. For row 125 and run 26, we're going to work that decrease portion. So for row 125, we're going to skip the next single crochet into the next stitch, chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into the next space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into the next space, and chain 1. You're then going to skip the next stitch, work a single crochet into the next chain 1 space, skip the next single crochet, work a single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet into your chain 2 space. That brings you to the end of row 125, chain 2 and turn your work. For row 126, skip the first stitch, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, then chain 1 and skip 1, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into your next chain 1 space, then chain 1, skip the next 2 single crochet stitches, and single crochet into the chain 1 space. Continue all the way across until you come to your chain 2 space. When you come to that chain 2 space, single crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 2, and turn your work. Then for rows 127 through to 147, so for the next 20 rows, you're simply going to work your moss stitch, working your single crochets in each chain 1 space all the way across, and then chain 2 and turn and repeat. So meet me back here at the end of row 147. At the end of row 147, you're going to chain 2 and turn your work. For row 148, we're going to work another decrease row, skip the first stitch, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip the next single crochet, and single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip the next single crochet, then single crochet into the next chain 1 space, skip the next single crochet and single crochet into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, repeat, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip your final single crochet and single crochet into your chain 2 space. Chain 2 and turn your work. For row 149, we're going to single crochet into the first chain 1 space, chain 1, skip the next single crochet and single crochet into the next chain 1 space and chain 1. You're then going to skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip the next 2 single crochet stitches, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, and continue across. Single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet into the final chain 2 space. Chain 2 and turn your work. Then for rows 150 through to 160, simply work your moss stitch for those 10 more rows. Then meet me back here at the end of row 160. At the end of row 160, you'll chain 2 and turn your work. We're going to work one more decrease in our tie. So for row 161, you're going to skip that first stitch, single crochet in the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip the next stitch, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, and chain 1. You're then going to single crochet into the next chain 1 space, skip the next stitch, and single crochet into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet into your final chain 2 space. Chain 2 and turn your work. For row 162, skip that first stitch, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, and chain 1. Skip the next 2 single crochet stitches and single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into the next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet into your chain 2 space. You're then going to chain 2 and turn your work. You're now going to work your one row of moss stitch, so skip the first stitch, single crochet in your next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet, chain 1, skip 1 all the way across, single crochet into that final chain 2 space, chain 2, and turn your work, and you're going to continue repeating that row 163, so continue repeating that moss stitch pattern until your work from the beginning measures approximately 56 inches, or the desired length. So the 56 inches will bring you to about a standard length tie. I mentioned I did work one that was slightly longer at 62 inches. In that case, you'll want to work till the 61. Or if you're making this for a teenager or someone shorter in stature, you may wish to make a shorter tie. So simply work to about the length you desire, less 1 inch of length. Okay, so once you have worked the full length, less an inch of your tie, working this moss stitch, you can meet me back here, and then there's just a few more steps to finish it off. Once you have worked until your necktie measures approximately 56 inches or the desired length, you're going to work a few more rows on this first side. So for your next row, you're going to chain 2, turn your work, skip the first single crochet, and work a single crochet into the next chain 1 space. You're going to chain 1, skip the next single crochet, and single crochet in the next chain 1 space. Work that one more time, chain 1, skip the next single crochet, and single crochet into the next chain 1 space. Chain 1. You're then going to work a single crochet 2 together, working over each of the final 2 chain spaces. So insert your hook into the next chain space, yarn over, drop a loop, insert your hook into the next chain 2 space, yarn over, draw up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. You're then going to chain 2 and turn your work. For your next row, you're going to skip the single crochet 2 together. So skip that first stitch, single crochet into the chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, single crochet into your next chain 1 space, chain 1, skip 1, and finish the row with a single crochet 2 together, worked over the final 2 chain spaces. Chain 2 and turn your work. Skip the first stitch, single crochet into your first chain 1 space, chain 1, and single crochet 2 together over the final 2 spaces. Chain 2, turn your work. This is your final row, and you're simply going to single crochet 2 together over those final 2 chain spaces. You can then go ahead, fasten off, weave in your ends, and repeat the above steps for the second side of the tie. Once you have worked the pattern rows 1 through to this final row of a single crochet 2 together, you can meet me back here. Once you have worked the 2 sides of your necktie, you're going to place them one over the top of the other, and you're going to work 1 round of single crochet edging all the way around the tie, working through both thicknesses. So it's up to you where you would like to begin. And there's really no front or back to the pieces, so place one over top of the other. I'm just going to start down at the bottom point of the tie. Insert your hook through both thicknesses and join with a slip stitch. You're then going to simply chain or single crochet evenly all the way around your tie. Now, as you are not working into individual stitches per se, you're just inserting your hook where it feels comfortable. Now, as you're working these single crochet stitches, you'll just want to be careful that you're not working too many in one place or too few. You don't want to stretch it out too much or bunch up the tie. So just pay attention to where you are inserting your hook. At each of the points, make sure that they are lining up. And you're just going to work your single crochet stitches as so all the way around. When you come to these corners here, you can work 2 or 3 in the corner in the same place, which will help give you a more defined look as you are working around. So continue to work a single crochet stitch evenly all the way around your tie until you come back to the first stitch. Once you work all single crochet stitches all the way around the edge of your necktie, working through both thicknesses, you're going to join with the slip stitch into the first stitch. Now, I'm actually up here at my bottom corner, and as I mentioned before, when you come to your corners, you may wish to work 2 to 3 stitches. So in this bottom corner, I'm actually going to place 2 more stitches for a total of 3, just to give it that defined corner look. You're then going to join with the slip stitch into the final stitch and fasten off. Then simply take your yarn needle and weave in any of your little ends. I'm just going to tuck this one into the back. You may wish to weave it in a little bit more, it's up to you. And then just trim it off. Trim off any other ends that you may have missed. I do have one up here that's already woven in. Now for this tie, as I worked it in the wool, I did find it helpful just to give it a quick blocking. And you can do that as per your yarn's instructions. It just really helps to even out those stitches and smooth those edges. But then that's all there is to working this men's classic necktie. One final note, if you would like, many neckties have a small band just across the back that you can tuck your shorter end into, which helps to keep it in place as it is being worn, but that is optional and up to you. But that's how you work your classic men's necktie. So thank you so much for joining me, and once again I invite you to subscribe. If you happen to make this tie on social media and share it on social media, be sure to tag Rich Textures Crochet. I always love to come by and admire your work. Until next time, happy crocheting. Bye.